lumalabas na po ng mga report na yung mga na-abduct na po at natatagpo po patay. Pero yung mga naitala po recently, mga insidente at kaso po ay na-solve na po ng PNP yan at nakasuhan at nakakulong na po yung mga suspect. But Gilas Assistant, nagbigay na po ang instruction ng ating Chief PNP, Police General Rodolfo Azuriza Jr. na mas lalong paigtingin po ng PNP personnel yung ating pagpapatrol, lalong-lalo na po doon sa mga crime-prone areas po natin, pati na rin po dyan sa paligid ng mga eskwelahan kung saan tama po kayo, nagsimula na nga po yung in-person classes po natin para masiguro po na yung ating mga estudyante, guro at ang mga magulang po ay magiging ligtas po sa anumang klase ng krimen.
From the nation's capital, all sides, all the time, I'm Robbie Alampay.
And I'm Gretchen Hall. The big story tonight.
Although there are verified reports of kidnapping, some social media pages are supposedly taking advantage of people's fears by posting unverified abduction reports for online engagement.
This scheme is called clickbaiting, and the PNP warns that charges could be filed against those spreading such misinformation. Brian Castillo with the big story.
In recent weeks, reports of alleged kidnapping incidents have been going viral on Facebook. This page, called iGlobal News, usually posts such incidents. The page has over 1,000 likes and more than 2,600 followers. One of their posts claimed that a white van is supposedly roaming different areas to abduct people. Such posts are accompanied by photos or screenshots of supposed kidnapping incidents. The caption is usually followed by a link that supposedly leads the audience to the full video of the incident. But when you click on the link, it only leads to an online shopping application. Other Facebook pages presenting themselves as alternative sources of information are doing the same tactic. Even this report of TV5's morning newscast, Frontline sa Umaga, was reposted by iGlobal News accompanied by the misleading link. News 5 is not connected to any of these Facebook pages. These are just some of the examples of clickbait posts that use catchy and intriguing titles or captions to attract users' attention. This is often done by some to gain more likes, shares, and followers. An IT security analyst warns netizens to be careful when dealing with clickbaits, for they can be used as tools for various schemes, such as phishing, where personal information could be harvested online.
Pwede nilang nagagamit nila sa panghahakseo. Meron namang mga punto kung saan pag na-click mo yung link na yun ay nakukuha nilang computer cache mo, kung saan nandun yung mga information mo gaya ng bank details.
Meanwhile, a social media and digital rights advocate calls on people to avoid clicking unfamiliar links. He says emotions fueled by various news and information online should also be kept in check.
They're taking advantage of yung takot na yon para magkaroon ng mga phishing or disinformation attempt. Pwede tayong maging suspicious sa mga bagay at hindi nagmamadali para magtiwala dahil lang kinakabahan tayo o natatakot.
Meanwhile, the Philippine National Police says there are still no verified incidents of white van abductions. The Police Anti-Cybercrime Division is now looking at the possibility of filing cases against fearmongers to hold them accountable for their actions.
Most of the videos posted or circulating online are videos that are previously validated already, and then yung iba is resolved na siya ng PNP. So kumbaga nire-recycle nila itong mga videos na to.
News 5 is still awaiting responses of online shopping sites on their links being used on clickbait posts. For News 5, Brian Castillo. We are One News.
The Commission on Human Rights has expressed alarm over the recent abductions, especially of women and young girls, later turning up dead in the countryside. Here's what we know. CHR Executive Director Jacqueline De Guia says they have monitored an increase in abductions, killings, and incidents of gender-based violence perpetrated against women and children all over the country. Among the cases cited, one is that of the killing of Princess Diane Dayor in Bulacan, who was found dead on July 5 after being reported missing on July 2. De Guia called on law enforcers to investigate these incidents and employ action to protect women and children, especially as face-to-face classes resume. The DOJ and DILG have both vowed to look into the killings Meanwhile, the PNP has assured increased visibility but notes that they are also monitoring social media for false kidnapping rumors.
Kaya naman po, nagbigay na rin po ng utos ang ating Chief PNP, si Police General Rodolfo Asurin Jr. na mas paigtingin pa po yung ating cyber patrolling and monitoring para nga makita po itong mga fake news at maling mga pagpo-post sa media para nga po maiwasan yung spread ng misinformation na nagkakadagdag palalo, ma'am, ng pangamba at takot sa ilan po nating mga mamamayan.
To talk to us more about these recent abductions, we have with us on the show PNP spokesperson Jean Fajardo. She's joining us over the phone. Ma'am, welcome to the big story.
Good evening, Sir Robbie and
Ma'am, dalawa po yung binalita natin. One has to do with fake news, fake abductions. Yung susunod na balita tungkol naman sa mga tumataas na mga reported na violence and abductions and attacks on women. Para lang po malinaw, unahin natin yung tungkol dito sa mga fake. No, para malinaw na yung pinag-uusapan natin, hindi maalarma yung mga tao. Ano po nangyayari dito? Bagong kaganapan po ba to?
Sir, kung napapansin nyo na dumadami nga po yung nagpo-post nga po ng iba't ibang uri ng mga scheme pertaining to crimes. May mga nagpo-post nga na katulad yan, may isang puting van na nagdudukot ng mga bata, may mga nadudukot at hinahablot, only to find out, sir, when we check, ito ay mga dati ng video. In fact, meron pang dalawang site na nakita ang PNP na stage yung ginagawang pagdukot at pagsakay ng mga dalawang kababaihan doon sa isang sasakyan. That's why this is the reason kung bakit no less than the Chief PNP ordered nga po yung PNP Anti-Cybercrime Group to intensify its efforts to monitor and patrol yung ating cyberspace to make sure na ito pong mga ganitong mga widespread publication po ng mga fake news, especially those posting threats and misinformation, na should be immediately take down. And we already coordinated na po sa Facebook to immediately take down ito pong mga na-identify na accounts, pati na rin po sa DICTM na nakipag-ugnayan na rin po ang PNP dahil sila lang po ang may authority to take down these unauthorized and illegal accounts po.
So ma'am, klaruhin lang po natin, no, wala pong pagtaas sa cases of kidnapping?
Tama po, ma'am. Kung titignan po natin, ma'am, yung datos ng anti-kidnapping group na siya po ang main PNP unit na nag-responde po sa kidnapping. In fact, for this year alone, ma'am, ay bumaba pa po ng almost 30% yung mga insidente po natin ng mga kidnapping case. At karamihan po dyan ay mga POGO-related. While we admit na sa recent days and weeks po ay may mga naitala po tayo ng kaso na mga na-abduct at nawawala po na mga kababaihan at bata, particularly yung dalawa po dyan sa Bulacan, yun nga pong involving the 15-year-old na biker at isa pa pong babae po. Yung parehong kaso po na yun, ma'am, ay na-resolve po. Yung suspects po ay parehong nahuli at nasampahan ng kaso. Yung insidente naman po, ma'am, doon sa Palawan ay recently na-resolve na rin po natin at umamin mismo yung kanyang first cousin, na dalawang first cousin ang siya mismong dumukot at nanghalay doon sa biktima. While these cases are happening, we want to assure the public that the peace and order in our country remains manageable at patuloy pong bumababa. In fact, from July 1 to August 15 of this year ay nakapagtala po tayo ng almost 9% decrease in terms of crime incident as we compare it doon sa same period of last year. Pero hindi natin ito ang ginagawa nating excuse para tayo po ay mag-relax. In fact, lalong-lalo na po ngayon, ma'am, na nagsimula na nga po yung face-to-face classes, ay lalo pa po nating pag-iigtingin yung ating police visibility and presence sa paligid po ng eskwelahan and other public convergence to make sure po na napapanatili po natin yung mababang antas po ng ating crime incident.
Okay, so again, linawin lang po natin yun. The data is showing that the trend is actually pababa. Kung ikukumpara natin yung number of abductions and these attacks, regardless of gender, across the board, actually pababa. Kung tama po yung pagkakaintindihan din, what's the better way to frame why people seem to have this sense and there seems to be this alarm over a perceived rise on attacks against women? Is it just that? Is it really just perception because of social media?
napapansin natin sa Robia na nagagamit na kasi yung social media for other illegal schemes. Alam natin na may mga matataas na atensyon ngayon na ibinibigay dito sa mga kasong ito. Yung mga ilang illegal schemers po natin ay ginagamit nga po yung magpo-post ng isang video at pag kinlik po yun ay nagagamit sa illegal phishing. Nakukuha yung kanilang mga personal information, nahahack po. Ito ngayon, tinitignan nating trend ngayon na instead of sabi nga lessening the fear, ay ito pa ang nagagamit ngayon para to attract attention dahil kung ikaw ay magulang, alam mo na ito ngayon yung nakikita at napopost sa social media. So, ikiklik mo ito kasi nakalagal, babala sa mga magulang. Pag ikaw magulang, ikiklik mo ito not knowing na once kinlik mo yon ay nakakuha na pala yung mga personal information mo. And in fact, just today ay naglabas po ang PNP ng at least 4 identified accounts po na considered fake po at nag-spread katulad na lang po yung dyan sa nangyari sa Caloocan. Allegedly, may 15-year-old na inabduct using the white van. When we check the account, it turned out na fake po ito at ito po yung nakikita nating trend ngayon at pinapaalala nga po natin na mag-ingat po yung ating mga kababayan at be mindful po sa mga pinopost po nating social media and refrain from spreading unverified information from unknown sources kasi maaari po kayong maharap sa kaso once na ito po ay patuloy niyong gagawin.
Ma'am, no isang araw po, tinitingnan ko yung mga posts regarding the kidnapping and nakita ko meron na isang kilalang influencer. Sinasabi niya na nanawagan siya for the government na isolve yung rise in kidnapping cases. Para lang po malinaw no, sa mga magtatangka na manakot using social media, ano po ba yung mga consequences? Kasi parang medyo madali po it doesn't escape us the possibility of people getting paid to post, to scare people. What are the possible consequences that they might face if they ride on this?
Yes, ma'am. Alam natin yung pag-spread po na misinformation o yung fake news ay considered public disorders. At malinaw po ma'am sa umiiral nating batas, particularly yung Article 154 of the Revised Penal Code, ang sinasabi po dyan ay any person by means of printing or any other means of publication shall publish or cause to be published any false news which may endanger the public order or cause damage to the interest of the state may suffer the consequences of violating said provision of the law. At pwede po silang maharap dyan at mamakasuhan at may corresponding imprisonment po yan of not less than 1 month and 1 day to 6 months. At may penalty po yan na 200,000. Kaya lagi nating pinapaalala, ma'am, na mag-ingat po tayo much as we wanted na ma-verify po lahat ito. Yun po yung ginagawa ngayon ng PNP, lahat po ng lumalabas sa social media. At tinitignan din natin ito on a positive note, Ma'am Gretchen, dahil nga ang alam natin, yung mga kababayan natin ngayon aware sa nangyayari sa ating kapaligiran. And in fact, doon sa mga mini-mention ko na mga insidente na na-resolve po, malaki rin po talaga ang nagawa ng social media dito dahil yung mga information po na nakakating po sa PNP in terms of the identification of the suspect, in terms of the identification po ng mga sasakyan na ginamit po nila. But other than that, yung paalala natin, Mamang Patuloy, ay doon sa mga hindi nila kilalang source at hindi sila sigurado na mga pinanggalingan na mga post sa mga social media, mag-ingat po tayo sa pag-share dahil maaari po tayong may kaharapin na kaso, lalo't ito po ay mapapatunayan na fake news po.
Alright, maraming salamat. PNP spokesperson Jean Fajardo, napakahalagang mga paalala. Now, after the break, we'll talk about the resumption of the DSWD's educational assistance distribution with Assistant Secretary Romel Lopez. That and more when the big story returns. Keep it here on One News.
begin to change. Now it could be 40 or 50 or 60 or 80 days a year where the wrong start in the wrong place creates a catastrophic result. Our primary goal is to contain the fire, to slow its spread and its intensity, and have a successful initial attack and a successful containment on the ground. The evolution of air tanker fleets has been driven by two primary things: the availability of aircraft, and it's been driven by the availability of fuel. Then there's the land-based air tanker.
You're still watching The Big Story here on One News. For the big story in sports, despite bolstering one of its strongest lineups in recent memory, Gilas Pilipinas was unable to escape with a victory as they faltered late against Lebanon 85-81. It was a strong start for Gilas as they led by as much as 10 points in the first quarter. Turnovers, however, proved to be the problem for the national team as they turned the ball over 21 times. Gilas also had no answer against Wael Arakji, who came through in the most critical of moments. The Asia Cup Most Valuable Player hit the Cedar's last 7 points to frustrate Gilas' payback bid, anchored on the all-around brilliance of Utah Jazz star Jordan Clarkson and Japan B-League stalwart Dwight Ramos. Gilas is now set to return home to play Saudi Arabia on Monday at the Mall of Asia Arena.
And here to talk about Gilas' latest performance against Lebanon, we have with us live via Zoom One Sports correspondent Paolo de Rosario. Good evening. Welcome to the Big Story, Paolo.
Thank you, Robbie. Thank you, Gretchen. Really appreciate you having me over.
Okay, Paolo, diretso tayo. Your takeaways from the Gilas game against Lebanon.
Alam mo, despite the loss, it was really encouraging considering ito yung unang laro ng Gilas Pilipinas with the current lineup. If I'm not mistaken, wala silang tune-up games. So to play Lebanon, which is arguably one of the better teams in Asia at the moment, and almost beat them, is an encouraging result. Of course, siyempre, sabi natin, we should have won that ball game. We should have won that ball game, but then the 21 turnovers that Gretchen mentioned was key. With regards to the loss. But then even despite that stat line, a lot of people would argue that Gilas should have or could have beaten Lebanon on their own home floor.
Yeah, should have, Paolo. And you mentioned the 21 turnovers. Apart from that, what else can they improve on?
Well, right now, it's a lot of it is chemistry based. Kasi a lot of the turnovers that were committed was from really not being familiar with each other. So more time together is what they need in general. But then let's see what else we can work on, because there's so much, there's a lot of shooting to be had. But then we also need to have Coach Reyes work with these players a bit more and get them to their spots, because this is the first time in a very long time he's holding a Scotty Thompson, who's a PBA MVP, Dapat Aguilar, who hasn't been available for Gilas for a very long time. So a lot to work on and a lot to work with for Coach Reyes, and hopefully familiarity with the players that he has right now will get them performing at a better level moving forward, Robbie.
Hey, Paolo, nakatulog ka na ba? Medyo napuyat tayo kagabi, kakapanood, ano?
Siyempre hindi, Gretchen. Nandito nga ako sa PBA, the work never stops.
No, I know it was, one heck of a game for you to call because of Jordan Clarkson. You're a Utah fan, and I'm just curious what you think about the ball movement of Gilas Pilipinas, because last night we also saw they had a difficult time guarding the outside shooters of Lebanon, who had a lot more threes compared to Gilas. And Jordan Clarkson also had a difficult time finding his shot late in the game. So how do we improve on the ball movement?
You seem to be having technical problems.
Oo, sayang. Ako, excited pa naman yan si Paolo kasi
Oo.
talagang yung Twitter kagabi, talagang umuusok kasi actually, gusto ko lang ikwento na hindi kami makatulog lahat dahil sa mga alley-oop ni Jordan Clarkson kay Kai Soto. Grabe yung mga dak-dak talaga. Ang laki ng improvement ni Kai.
I mean, I was gonna ask about that. Anong nakita niyo kay Kai Soto? Of course, a lot of eyes on Jordan Clarkson. Alam na natin yan. Pero si Kai Soto was also a big thing.
Kai Soto was, he contributed a lot that you won't see in the stat sheet. His defense inside the paint, I think, was very, very good to stop the bigs of Lebanon. And he grew also in terms of weight, in terms of strength, in terms of speed and agility. Mas maayos siya gumalaw, mas on point. But still, long ways to go in terms of not being pushed around. Ang lalaki rin ng Lebanon, and he kind of struggled. But we'll get back to Paolo because I'd love to know what he thinks about it.
Well, you know what, Gretchen? I heard a few things that you said. This is what I feel. Kasi siyempre, the ball movement will come with time together. We have some of the better breakdown players in terms of one-on-one in Jordan Clarkson. Obviously, Lebanon adjusted very well to defending Jordan. Jordan's first half and second half, I don't think was down to fatigue, but more down to the adjustment of Lebanon. We have to give them credit for that. Pero siyempre, si Jordan is also discovering who his teammates are, what they can do on the floor, and I have a feeling that once he's more familiar with the Gilas team in general and what they can do, he'll be able to find ways to do even better when adjustments happen right in front of him. So let's see whether or not that will change. Pero siyempre, the constant here is that there needs to be more time together with this group, because this is a very talented group. And for a first game together, na wala pang tune-up, grabe, it was already something. You mentioned the three-pointers of Lebanon a while ago. That just goes to show that they need to be able to find ways to stop systems, to break systems, rather, offensive systems of opponents, especially of a high quality like Lebanon. That will come with more defensive pieces. We have them in the likes of Jamie Malonzo. We didn't really see much of his news on Scotty Thompson. Once we find ways to get their individual defense all sorted out, it will function better on a team scheme that Coach Chong and, of course, Coach Tinson, who's there to help fix defense, is trying to implement.
Okay, and we'll continue to track, of course, the progress, hopefully the progress. Saudi Arabia coming up later on. But for now, maraming salamat, Paolo. We'll have to have you back for that as well. For now, we'll pause for a quick break. Keep it here on One News.
In Europe, your life might be about to get a whole lot easier. Starting in 2024, the European Union is going to require big tech companies like Meta and Apple to make it possible to send messages between their messaging apps. That might let an iMessage user chat with a WhatsApp account. The technical name for this is interoperability, and it's part of the EU's Digital Markets Act, legislation intended at loosening big tech's grip on the digital market. The EU's thinking is that messaging locks users into the tech giants' platforms, because leaving WhatsApp or Facebook Messenger means losing the the ability to communicate with all your friends. But thanks to the EU, you'll be able to send a message from a smaller competitor like Viber to someone using iMessage.
You're watching the big story here on One News. The Social Welfare Department says they will not accept walk-ins during the distribution of educational assistance starting tomorrow. To organize the dole-out, the DSWD has designated 3 payout centers in Metro Manila, including Taguig, Katipunan in Quezon City, and in Manila. The DSWD said only those who will receive a text confirmation should proceed to payout centers based on their schedule. The department added that those who registered online do not automatically become beneficiaries because they still have to go through screening. Meanwhile, Vice President and Education Secretary Sara Duterte defended teachers after DSWD Secretary Erwin Tulfo expressed concern that teachers may favor certain individuals. That's if they will be involved in the distribution of the agency's educational cash aid. In a statement, Duterte said public school teachers have always been models of professionalism and that their dedication and commitment to public service go beyond self-interest. She added that their sacrifice cannot be matched because they bear the responsibility of guiding the youth to achieve their dreams.
Well, hopefully, cutting through all of the statements, hopefully at least we hope that the system for distribution is getting better. This is the second weekend they've had. Admittedly naman, and when we say admittedly, no less than the Secretary of the DSWD admitted to that the first weekend was medyo magulo talaga. But now they have an online registration system. Ulitin lang po natin, pagre-register online, hindi ibig sabihin no, na beneficiary na kayo. It will be vetted. And then, the final one is you have to get a text message. Tama ba?
You have to get a text message, and then you have to get the final screening from the DSWD personnel to identify that they are a student in crisis. So I hope this guides the rest of their the cash disbursements moving forward, and they actually employ the best practices that the DSWD has had over the years. I mean, that wealth of knowledge and experience can guide them to avoid these blunders.
For now, that's the big story. For more updates, follow News 5, the Philippine Star, and Business World online. You may also log on to onenews.ph for more analysis. Ako po si Robbie Alampay.
The big story is also available via Signal Play app. Make a free account now at signalplay.com and stream One News anytime, anywhere. I'm Gretchen Ho. Mask on, wash hands, and stay safe, Philippines.
We are One News, all sides, all the time.